We must also ask ourselves a question as to what actually informs this decision, this rush decision, few days before the provincial conference of the ANC. For instance, I personally always respected the Minister of Finance. But definitely I'm really disappointed because he knows quite well that he's lying to the public currently. And for instance, you are saying that Gauteng and Free State requested intervention. But you are not telling us as to whether Limpopo requested intervention or what.
Okay,
and if
let's
Limpopo
ask the Minister to respond.
Request the intervention as to whether these departments, were they being prepared actually that there is this kind of a thing which is going to come because we failed to implement 1, 2, 3, 4. Because Treasury should have informed this department that we want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to correct your mess.
Okay,
Mandla. As far as what the APC was saying.
Okay, let's get the Minister.
Happened, actually. They learned about these things from journalists.
Okay,
so we want
Minister?
to know whether is this country run by journalists or is run by cabinet. Actually, it also gives credibility to what has been said that cabinet takes position without thinking. And I think the Supreme Court as well.
Okay, Mandla, you're making all sorts of allegations again. Just give the Minister a chance then to respond. Mandla, all right, Minister?
Let me firstly thank Solly for his comments and ask him to exercise a bit of patience. Let's do our work that we've been asked to do by the Cabinet and report back both to Cabinet and the public in terms of where we're going. I think Hope gives important focus on the relationship between provincial executives, departments and MECs and the legislature. And I'm glad that the legislature in Gauteng is taking the initiatives and producing the insights that they are in respect of some of the problems in health, which have been there for a long time. And you're absolutely right, Kolani. We have to both respect and make work the checks and balances in any democratic system, and accountability to legislatures, but also legislatures having the capacity and the skills to detect malpractices or things going wrong is a very important part of the checks and balances in our system. Now, Mandla, I don't want to get into a political debate. This is not anything to do with politics. Let me give you a quick rundown of the interactions between National Treasury and the Provincial Treasury in Limpopo. In July this year, there was an interaction between the two treasuries, and the Provincial Treasury was already running into cash problems, was warned that they would run into cash problems later in the year, that they need to take immediate steps, and some of which I think they began to take, and they need what was called prudent cash management practices. In September, there was another meeting, and again, they were advised to get the correct skills and track their cash and cash disbursements. In October, there was this letter which said they want an increase in the overdraft. On the 17th of November, there didn't seem to be any credible plan emerging from the province. I can go on. There's lots of details. So I think this is not the time to discuss party politics. This is a time to say there's a shortage of cash. There's a potential overrun in terms of expenditure as we go towards the end of the year. Do we just sit back and do nothing? Or do we step in the appropriate kind of way and make sure that the right capacity, systems, and accountability is there within the next 2 or 3 months? And as I pointed out earlier, National can't run provinces in our system forever. Provinces will ultimately have to find the capacity to manage their own environment. And our job here is to make sure that we put the proper systems in place.
Lebohang, I think the point, though, sorry, Minister, because I need to bring in Lebohang. The point, however, is that Mandla's assertion and the assumption that this has a lot to do with party politics will always be there. It will linger.
It will always linger, and I suppose one of the best ways to try to dispel that is exactly the approach that the Minister is taking, which is calling for forensic audit, and then we can only hope that something will come out of that. I think that Len makes an interesting point saying that we can't assume that there's corruption, but perhaps we can make assumptions about, we can certainly infer that there has been a terrible lack of management and oversight and take appropriate action thereof. But I suppose one of the things that's difficult in this is that the perceptions management is almost as important as process management, and there is a growing and a growing public perception that at provincial level, even though that provinces are semi or quasi-autonomous, there has to be oversight from National Treasury, and that when things like this emerge, it seems to infer that there has been a laxity or a lack of appropriate intervention and timely intervention on the part of National Treasury, and that when when actions are taken, they are taken and mediated on the basis of political favoritism or party politics. But I mean, I would beg to agree that it shouldn't be about party politics, but often, unfortunately, the outcomes seem to point in that direction. But certainly, it shouldn't be about that. These are state funds. These are not party funds. These are taxpayers' money, your money, my money, the listeners' money.
Indeed. Len, there's an SMS perhaps in response to what Mandla was saying that says, should the president stop governing then when the ANC goes for elective conference like in Limpopo? That comes from Surprise in Limpopo.
Yeah, I mean, I think a robust political debate is also part of a healthy democracy. So, but I think one shouldn't necessarily always drag politics into it. And so just, I mean, to my mind, this was is a quite a decisive intervention in terms of sending out the right messages. It's kind of ironic that there's this sense that too little is being done too late, perhaps. But one could have just left it. I mean, National Treasury as well could have simply extended the overdraft facility to the Limpopo province. It has, on the other hand, chosen not to do that, which I think is sending the right signal to the other provinces as well as to the rest of the world. Because there is this perceptional issue, of course. I received a phone call actually from the New York Times about this, saying, does this issue indicate that South Africa is perhaps getting lax about issues of debt management? And my response was, no, quite the opposite. It shows that we are serious about imposing a hard budget constraint within an intergovernmental fiscal relation that does in some ways limit the power of the central ministry to control the provinces.
Very interesting. Let me read some SMSs here. There's one from Imelda that says, Minister Pravin for President, he is trustworthy and hardworking. Another one says, from experience, government pay suppliers when they wish to. Some officials run away with their signatures in order to frustrate you, and that's cruelty. That's Luandle Kokstad. There's an SMS that says, hi to the Minister, why keeping members like Mr. Millions Block in his post at Northern Cape? That case will take years. That's Tony in Cape Town. Paul in Durban says, forensic audit of Hope's accounts are needed. Another one from Savannah in Pinetown, Savannah in Pinetown actually says, Limpopo is giving Malema tenders, now government is bankrupt. Captain Mhinga says, please also take over from the Premier too, because this is the result of tenders and corruption in Limpopo. I blame the Minister of Finance for the corruption. He takes our hard-earned money efficiently and dishes it out with no basic standard controls. That's Gulam. Philip in KZN says, the ANC by nature are a corrupt party with many incompetent individuals and positions. They all must get out jailed for life. That's Philip in KZN. Siabonga in Peter Maritzburg says, this is Stop Malema backers in government from milking this incompetent individual, from milking state to fund their Mangaung efforts. Another one. So the minister, can you assure us that that will be home at start? I can't see this clearly. Lisa says, it's funny how people know how to do the wrong thing right, but can't do the right thing right. How dare they strike for pay increases then, says another SMS. We will be going to the lines in a minute. In fact, let me take Anonymous in Limpopo quickly. Good morning, Anonymous.
Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, I'll remain anonymous. I called because, I heard the gentleman talking from the legislature, and I need to support that gentleman because I'm sitting on one oversight in Limpopo.
Yeah.
The issue is that when you're sitting on an oversight, I hear that there is an issue of maybe non-effective oversight. When you're sitting on an oversight committee, all what you do, you receive quarterly reports, and quarterly reports, it's to what extent the officials are informing you in the report. And as oversight, you look at the reports, you make recommendations, and those recommendations, they will end at the administration level. We've been raising this issue of over expenditure year in, year out, to say that when you are given a budget, for example, of 1 million, you cannot spend 1.5 million because you don't know where the 0.5 million is going to come from. And this over expenditure has been escalating from year in, year out, and we've been raising this. We were even promised that the province is dealing with this issue at a transversal level. There's a strategy that will be given. So for you to say that the impact or the impact of the oversight is not being seen by the public, I think it's a little bit unfair towards the oversight, because the oversight can make recommendations. At the end of the day, it is the administration and EXCO that needs to make resolutions, and those resolutions need to be
So, Anonymous, what you are saying is that the EXCO is not taking the oversight or parliamentary processes seriously.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that from the recommendations, EXCO needs to make decisions, and those decisions and resolutions need to be implemented by administrators. So there is a lack there that it's not happening as it should be happening.
Those decisions are not being taken.
Sorry?
Those decisions are not being taken. EXCO does not take those decisions.
I don't think those decisions are being taken, because if those decisions, it could be that EXCO is not being fed with the information that the oversight is making. It could be that they are being fed, decisions are not being made. So that gap needs to be identified as to where is the chain breaking. Is the administration, when they're compiling the report for the executive, do they include what the oversight is informing them, and the executive is taking decisions on that? Or the executives are not doing that. Clearly, somebody is not doing what they're supposed to be doing to make sure that these issues are elevated at the right level, because the oversight bodies are raising these issues. Go to the minutes, go to the reports that comes from the oversight. You will find the issue of over expenditure and overdraft.
All right. I need to take one last call. I need to take one last call very quickly before I take the commercial break. But I really have a problem with what you're saying, in that you make it sound like the members of Parliament, for instance, live in a completely different continent, and they are not members of the same political organizations. Because the issue is, you meet EXCO in your branch meeting. You meet EXCO, you mingle with them. Why not ask them, listen, we made a decision on this the other day. What happened to the implementation?
Not necessarily, Kolani. As an oversight member, you are not necessarily affiliated to any political party. You can be an oversight member because of legislation. PFMA is specifically stating that there will be some oversight bodies. You need to be independent in that aspect. So it does not necessarily mean that you are a member of an ANC or TA or whatever the case might be. You are exercising your independence role as required by the PFMA.